You don't get to stand there and act surprised. You made this choice, not me. Every lie,
I'm
every
done.
excuse.
I didn't think it would get this far. Maya, please,
No, you don't get to say my name like that.
Who's outside your house at midnight? Marcus froze, staring at the headlights cutting through his living room blinds. His phone slipped from his hand because the message he'd sent 5 minutes ago wasn't meant for her. But there she was, Celeste Harper, his cold, untouchable CEO, standing at his doorstep in the dark. No smile, no explanation. Just a look that said everything and nothing. One mistaken text. One impossible moment. This is the night when power, race, and reputation collided, when a single dad learned what one message could cost. Welcome, story lovers. Where are you watching from? Hit the like button and drop your city name in the comments so we can see how far our story travels. It was one of those nights that seemed to stretch forever. Quiet, tired, and heavy with the weight of routine. Marcus leaned against the kitchen counter, the hum of the refrigerator filling the silence. His 8-year-old daughter, Ava, was finally asleep in the small bedroom they shared. The faint glow of her nightlight slipped through the cracked door, reminding him of what all this exhaustion was for. Single fatherhood wasn't something he had planned, but it had become his entire world. Every early morning, every late shift, every compromise, he carried them like badges of survival. By day, Marcus worked in the marketing department of a major tech firm, a place where smiles were polished and silence was currency. His boss, Ms. Celeste Harper, was the company's young CEO, a woman both feared and admired. Black, brilliant, and unshakably composed, she ran the company with precision that left no room for error or emotion. To most, she was a mystery wrapped in power. To Marcus, she was untouchable. The city outside his window buzzed faintly with life, but his apartment felt like another planet. Dim, cluttered, surviving. He picked up his phone, scrolling through messages from coworkers, half-hearted jokes, and unanswered reminders. His mind drifted, heavy with fatigue and loneliness. The cursor blinked in his messaging app. He started typing, a simple, clumsy attempt at humor. Something flirtatious meant for a friend from work. A distraction. A way to feel human for a moment. But his tired hands betrayed him. The message, a teasing line that read, "You look too good in that meeting today, I can't focus anymore," was sent before he realized his mistake. His breath caught as he read the name above it. Celeste Harper, his boss, the woman who didn't even smile at company parties. For a long second, the room froze. The phone slipped slightly in his grip. He considered deleting his number, his job, his entire existence. Then, headlights cut through the window blinds. Someone had pulled up outside, and Marcus's world was about to change forever. The glow of headlights bled through the blinds, sharp and uninvited. Marcus stood still, his pulse quickening in his throat. Maybe it was a neighbor, maybe a delivery, but deep down his gut knew it was her. The CEO whose gaze could silence an entire boardroom. The woman whose reputation was colder than the marble floors she walked on. Celeste Harper didn't visit employees. Not at this hour. Not ever. He swallowed hard, palms slick with sweat. The phone buzzed in his hand. A single message flashed across the screen. "Open the door," Marcus's breath hitched. Every instinct screamed to pretend he wasn't home, to vanish into the shadows of his small apartment. But another text came, colder, sharper. "Now." The air thickened as he unlocked the door. Outside, the CEO stood beside a sleek black car, her posture composed but her eyes unreadable. The kind of woman who carried power like oxygen. She looked at him, just looked, and he felt both exposed and invisible at once. Celeste didn't step inside immediately. Her gaze drifted past him, taking in the peeling paint, the flickering hallway light, the quiet hum of the city beyond. "You should be careful where you send your words," she said finally, her tone low but cutting. Marcus wanted to apologize, to explain that it was a mistake. But before he could speak, a sound broke through the tension, Ava's soft voice from the bedroom. "Daddy?" Celeste's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. The coldness wavered for half a heartbeat. Then it was gone. Marcus moved to hush his daughter, but Celeste raised a hand. "You have a child," she said, more observation than question. He nodded, feeling smaller than he'd ever felt before. The irony burned in him, working day and night for a company where he barely existed, and now his private life lay bare before the one person he'd never wanted to notice him. But Celeste didn't leave. Instead, she stepped inside, surveying the worn furniture and the smell of reheated dinner. For a woman who commanded skyscrapers, this world was foreign. Yet something about it, its warmth, its struggle, held her there. Then came the twist of irony that made his stomach drop. The next morning at work, whispers spread like wildfire. Someone had seen her car outside his building. In an office already split by quiet racial divides and hierarchy, the gossip carried venom. Some said Marcus was using her, trying to climb the ladder. Others said Celeste was lowering her standards, and beneath every comment was the same poison, the disbelief that a black woman could hold power and still be human, that a white single father could be anything but opportunistic. The tension grew unbearable. Every meeting felt heavier, every glance sharper. He could feel eyes burning into him. Celeste said nothing, her face a mask of composure, but Marcus saw it in her eyes. The judgment wasn't just aimed at him, it was aimed at her. And in a world where she had fought every inch for respect, one mistaken text had become ammunition. The line between professionalism and prejudice blurred, and Marcus realized this wasn't just about a message anymore. It was about everything society thought she wasn't allowed to feel, and everything he was never meant to say. The tension finally cracked on a Thursday afternoon. The board meeting was packed, cameras on for the quarterly presentation, and all eyes were on Celeste. She stood at the head of the table, flawless, commanding, unbreakable. But Marcus could feel it, the undercurrent of murmurs, the darting glances. He wasn't supposed to be there, yet she'd personally asked him to present the marketing report. He tried to steady his voice, but the weight of judgment pressed down. One executive smirked. Another whispered, "Favoritism." It wasn't even subtle anymore. The old guard, the ones who never said the word racism, but lived by its rules, waited for her to falter. Halfway through his presentation, someone muttered, loud enough for the room to hear. "Guess some people get more than performance reviews." Laughter, quiet but cruel, rippled around the table. The air turned electric. Marcus froze. Celeste's hand tightened on the edge of the table. For the first time, her composure cracked. She looked straight at the man who'd spoken. "You think a black woman in power has to explain herself?" Her voice trembled, not from weakness but fury. "Do you think I got here because I let anyone define me? You don't see a leader. You see your bias? Silence." Marcus felt something shift. The walls that kept her distant now felt human, fragile, real. Then she turned to him, eyes steady. "You made a mistake, Marcus," she said softly. "But tonight you reminded me why I don't let this world tell me who I can be." The room didn't breathe. Dear audience, where are you watching from? Drop your city name in the comments. When the meeting ended, the silence lingered longer than the applause. No one dared look Celeste in the eye. Marcus packed his notes with shaking hands, his heart still echoing from what had just unfolded. He had come into work fearing for his job and left realizing he had witnessed something far greater, a woman reclaiming her power in a room built to strip it away. Later that evening, the two stood alone in the parking garages, quiet. No titles, no masks, just two people caught in the crossfire of perception and prejudice. Celeste leaned against her car, the faint hum of the city echoing around them. "People like us," she said, "don't get to make mistakes. One text, one rumor, it's enough to rewrite everything we've worked for." Marcus nodded, guilt twisting in his chest. "I never meant to make things harder for you." She looked at him, her eyes softer than he'd ever seen. "You didn't," she replied. "You just showed me how fast the world still tries to remind me who I'm supposed to be." When she drove away, Marcus stood in the dim light, realizing that what had happened wasn't just an accident, it was a mirror. A reflection of how fragile power can be when filtered through color, gender, and class. He'd made one careless mistake, but it had exposed a truth much larger than either of them. How many more moments like this would it take before respect stopped being conditional? Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more powerful stories and don't forget to share your thoughts below.